welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Friday edition with Alan Langle from Deadline Detroit, co-founder. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening. Good evening.
Attorney Vanessa Moss. How you doing, Vanessa?
I'm good. Good evening. Good evening to all of you on Detroit in Black and White, all the co-hosts, Jim, Adolph, and Alan. I also want to say good evening to those of you that are watching and joining us tonight, our Friday's edition of Detroit in Black and White. We want you to hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. And we want you to subscribe. Our subscriptions are going up. We want them to go up more. And so we want you to tell your friends about the greatest show on YouTube.
I thought you were going to say on Earth, PT.
It is. I'll say that the next time.
Anyway, he was the first he wasn't the first flim flam man. I guess he was to become a politician. Now we got one in the White House. He's some kin to P.T. Barnum. There's a sucker born every minute. Jim Nardoni, how you doing?
Happy Friday. It's finally warm in Detroit, and we still have our guest co-host already commenting on us. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. I want to start off, and then we can go from there. I saw those queen bees flew 10 minutes in the air, and you thought that they went to the fucking Mars.
Don't get those people confused with our queen bee.
Right. We know who he's talking about.
Yeah, they get coming back. Gayle King kissing the fucking ground like she's been gone. She's been on the space with Mr. Spock and the crew from the Enterprise. It was you know what? To call them astronauts and shit is a disgrace and a affront to the folks that train for years to go up into space, and to the astronauts who lost their lives going back to the animals that they used sacrifice to kill. And this woman, Oprah's best friend, and this singer kissing the ground remind me of Martha Jean the Queen when they opened the fucking casino, MGM. Martha Jean got on the ground and kissed it. Praise Jesus, we got a casino gaming. It's unfucking believable. And then they get pissed because people say, man, you spent millions of dollars for going up in the air for 10 minutes, and these bitches came back like they was fucking, we unconquered outer space. Oh, boom. I'm finished with that, Jeff Bozo the clown. You know what? That was your former boss, Alan. It's mind-boggling what's happening here in this country and in our communities, and they waste all this money. I'm a spend 20 million, 30 million to go up.
If I was going up in space, I want to go with them, though. They look pretty good, all of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can have Gayle King. You can have her.
You know what? There are people that are saying that, listen, why are you hating on them? If they had the money to do it, let them do it. I mean,
I don't listen. Like I told, and you know who that is. I don't care.
You cut
somebody out. That lives with me right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I said, I don't care if they go up into space. Fine. But the way CBS and all them made this shit, it made me want to puke and throw the fuck up. They didn't even go in the fucking space.
Have you guys seen the meme of Gayle King? It's hilarious. Her facial expression is hilarious. It's hilarious.
Well, I thought somebody should have put her. They should have just kept going when they was on that rocket. They should have put R. Kelly on the fucking rocket with her, so she wouldn't have came back down. Alan, what you think of the space ride?
I mean, it's to be honest, I've really pretty much ignored it. I mean, it's so irrelevant. I mean, everything that's going on in this world, and you have these these women all dolled up with all these like fashionable spacesuits going up there.
They
So,
look good. Hey,
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
I would have been fashionable if it was me.
yeah, but fine. It's fun. It's so irrelevant to me. But there's so much stuff going on. It's just like I really didn't pay a lot of attention.
Yeah, well, Katy Perry had on a Louboutin astronaut suit. So, you know what? Jim, did you watch it? Did you?
That they made in China?
Yeah, was you watching it, Jim?
I didn't. I was not, but I know next time I get off my Delta flight, when I get on the bridgeway, I'm gonna lean down and kiss the ground.
It's like bungee jumping.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. Listen, I've been on a plane where it ran out of fuel, where it's been on fire and shit. And I can see people getting off the plane or whatever, kissing the ground because they escaped harm. But these nincompoops, these prima donnas, fuck them. That's all I can say.
Well,
At that.
It's like it just felt like junior high, like popular junior high kids who were like, "We're the popular group. We're special. We're going up. We're
You
all."
know them, don't you, Alan? And they still around. Those same people. You saw them at your reunions and shit. They still in their little cliques and shit. You know, it's like when Coleman Young died, there was always a clique of appointees that they looked down on this group, and that's the same piece of folks. We flew up to where we go. She compared herself to Alan Shepard.
Oh, she did. Did she?
Yes, she did. Read her quotes. She said she did the same flight that Alan Shepard did. He just flew jets and shit, and he got 5 degrees in engineering, and he trained for 10 years or whatever, just to go up. And Gayle King said, I did just what he did. And that means, anybody can be an astronaut. And we're going to Mars now. Oh man. I tell you who's gonna be going. Who's gonna be going? Won't be the real people. Gayle King. I'm surprised Oprah didn't go. Reading her book of the month.
Crying. Oprah was standing there crying as Gayle King.
For what? For what?
I don't know.
What?
It's not
That's like Jesse Jackson crying when Obama got elected, and because he knew that he fucked up when he was dogging out Obama, and he wasn't going to have a way to get into the White House. So tears came out of his face. That Oprah was crying. That's some shit. Okay, that's it for me. I ain't got nothing else to say.
Oh, come on. You're doing.
The second one is some idiot bought the tower, the rent in. That's another one. That's going to be empty for the next 20 years. Do you really think there's going to be apartments there? Please tell me.
The last time a doctor bought some, it was the Trenton Hospital. So we know how that worked out.
But you know what? I wouldn't be dismissive of when that South American guy bought the Packard plant, I thought that's insane.
Yeah.
But they actually started doing some stuff with it. I thought, well, maybe, but then he didn't have the money. But
what about the guy that they gave the Herman Keith the complex to? He ain't done shit.
Yeah, right. Well,
listen,
these projects are a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Well, don't announce the shit and give it to folks.
Right.
It's not going to come about.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's always hit and miss. I mean, it's a huge gamble to buy these huge. I mean, look, the train station. Who knew that anything would ever come of the train station again? Ford happened to have a shitload of money. They got about $200 million in government money, but they also put up I think the whole project, that whole campus is $1 billion. I think the train station, they probably put 600, 700 million into it, but it's a lot of money. But we'll see if these people have the money, the financing to make it happen.
Well, I learned something from Matty Maroon when he got the train station. It was already screwed up. Basically, they ripped it off and took everything out of it. Right. He said, you know what? Where the city had come to him and said, "Oh, we want to move public safety into the train station." Right. He said they were just blowing smoke up his butt, and they really wasn't. But why would he put $100 million in a project when you don't have anything to go with it? Right. And he wanted to really tear it down, and city council blocked it. Said nope. In a way, I'm glad they did block it, because then you would only have a parking lot.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you: Are you happy with what happened in Michigan and Trumbull with the old Tiger Stadium? How they developed that whole?
Yeah, because some of these assholes wanted to be playing baseball at an abandoned baseball stadium where you had a historical ballpark like Yankee Stadium. They tore it down in a matter of months and built a new Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. And we had to sit and look at old Tiger Stadium for how many years? Because people wanted to play baseball I remember going to Tiger Stadium, and you had an asshole like Carl Levin and them giving money, keeping it going. I have to give George Jackson credit, because it was George that pushed these developments. Oh, really? Okay. And you look at what's happening to Corktown. Corktown is thriving. Now they're pissed at their congressman, Shree, who disappeared. And when it comes to what are they going to do with Michigan Avenue, MDOT is hell bent on, turning it into 2 lanes or whatever the hell they're going to do with it. Maybe a motorcycle lane. That's up your alley, Jim.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you. And then today I get something in the mail. It's a book from Shree. All he does is send all this paperwork.
Did you see that? Yes. It was that big.
Yeah. Yes.
It was huge.
So I told Bob Roberts, I said, Bob, your congressman, where is he? He said, that's a good question. I said, he ain't that. All he gonna tell you, I came to here with $2 in my pocket. That's what he's gonna say. He's not even gonna answer the question.
Hey, Vanessa, you gonna visit with our friends?
Yeah, I was visit with our friends, but I needed that comic relief today. Oh gosh. I'm gonna give a shout out to Queen B. She says who is going to be able to afford an apartment there. Miss Sheila say people say they wrote that trip off. Angela Beatty, laughing emojis, Cynthia Johnson. I was rolling.
Renoverse, a new
Lord have mercy. Felicia Dean, good evening. Nozenji, it's PR. He said it's PR. Eric Brown said good evening. He asked the question, did they go into space?
No, they were in their head.
What a freaking
Twilight Zone.
Right. Somebody said, Adolph, you're funny. I agree. Bridget Huff said good evening. An early story said peace. And that's just about it. But
and Sam's checking in with us.
Okay, you brought up Shree Thaner. Sam, good evening, Sam. Shree Thaner, and I just want to pivot a bit. Somebody's texting me, telling me take my meds. Now, if you guys have noticed over the last week or so, I have not been coughing like I have had been over the last 6 months. That's because I'm taking some medication. I'm I have to clear out my throat because I was laughing so hard. But you were talking about Sri Thanadar. What do you guys think about David Hogg and this controversial thing that he has going on, talking about, hey, we got $20 million and we're going to spend that $20 million on running people in the Democratic Party against incumbents that are not doing what they need to do. And in particularly, he's talking about incumbents in the blue states. Are you guys familiar with that?
I agree with.
Go ahead, Jim.
I agree with James Carville, the Raging Cajun. It's a circular firing squad, and he might have some ideas. I'm not even going to say good ideas. He has some ideas, but that's not how the system works. He's representing the party, and representing the party and hiring people to run against the party seems kind of contradictory in my mind.
That's why the Democrats lost Congress. They lost the Senate. They lost every fucking thing because they party was split into 5 factions. You had the Rashida Tlaib faction who says I'm not supporting the party. You have the AOC and the Bernie Sanders, who they're really not Democrats, but they operate under Democratic umbrella. And you got those are kind of folks that you dealing with, and you run a Joe Manchin and the rest of the folks that barely survived in North Dakota and Ohio. That was right-leaning Democrats, conservative Democrats, and either they retired or they lost. Alan.
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges for the Democratic Party is that they're trying, and they should be the umbrella party of the different voices, where in the last probably 15 years, the Republican Party has slowly and continuously and methodically weeded out people who are moderate, but definitely liberal. So like the issue comes up on Israel. And so, the Republican Party is all united. We're pro-Israel. You got the Democratic Party who's all fighting over, how much we should support Israel, how much this. Even the Republican Party is basically supporting Russia. And they're almost, and they're united in that, and their voice is more singular, and it's tough. And the Democrats they want to be the party representing liberal, Democrat, whatever, straight, gay, black, white, Muslim, and the Republicans don't care.
Stop fucking the people that's your biggest allies.
Yeah.
So I take
get shit out of it. The Democrats, they
go ahead,
support us in the win. We don't get shit from them. Lip service every fucking 4 years. Oh, we're gonna take care of that. We're gonna get rid of redlining. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. They don't do a damn thing. And now folks are turning against them. Listen, the Republicans took the narrative and ran with it on that transgender shit. They ran with it. They ran and they won. Abortion wasn't the key.
I get that. My question is: are you saying? I heard what Jim said to say. Are you saying that that's a bad idea? This guy is 25 years old, and one of the viewers pointed out young people need folks their age in the Dems.
Right.
Want to vote? Would we be better to all register and run independent? The Dems are entrenched. But the bottom line is, if you listen to an interview with Mr. Hogg, he's 25 years old. In my opinion, he made some very good points about the Democratic Party. And basically, you have people that are in office that are ineffective, people that are in office, they've been there a long time, and that they need to get behind people that they believe will make a difference, and they need blood in the party.
You know who keep the Democrats in power and who passed millages and all that? Senior citizens. They the one that go out to vote. They the one put these people in there, and they vote the same way. They say, "Oh, I don't want your congressman, but I love my congressman." They'll get on TV and tell you how much they love Shree or they love Rashida.
Do you think they're going to run somebody against Shree? I mean, we talked about.
No, you're gonna have 10 people get in there because that's the way it is. Al Holier is gonna run again until he turns 80. He gonna have grandkids and he gonna still run. Listen, we need new blood. We need somebody that's gonna not waste that money and they're gonna talk about the issues. You can beat him if you talk about the issues.
Right.
If they attack each other and you have 3 or 4 people get in there and he puts people in there.
So, well, we know that. We know that for a fact. But are you saying it's a bad idea?
No, listen. Listen.
Okay.
It's up for grabs.
Well, I think it's interesting. There's a lot of diverse opinions in the Democratic Party and people with diverse views. There are diverse views in the Republican Party, but Trump has been able to mute and intimidate people to shut up. And I just want to read Lisa Murkowski, senator from Alaska, who said the other day, "We are all afraid. It's quite a statement, but we are in a time and a place where I certainly have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice because retaliation is real, and that's not right." So
then she doesn't have any courage.
She won on the right end as a U.S. senator. She don't owe Trump shit.
Why does she have the courage, Adolf? Why doesn't she have the courage to stand up for what she's saying? Is
she's a battered woman. They all battered. Trump is a bully. And none of these people, sooner or later, somebody in that party, the way to break him is they're gonna have to stand up to him. Until now, you know what? He's the leader. He's the leader. He's in power.
But he's a lame duck.
And the rats are following him.
He's a lame duck.
Well, he running for a third term.
He's got great influence in the party still. Look, people want Mike Rogers wants his endorsement. John James wants his endorsement. Whether he's
do they want to win or they just want to run to just
they want to win. They want to win.
They must not want to win because he's going to be the kiss of death in this next election
well, we'll see. I just
I don't know if John James wants to win. He just likes being on TV, I think.
You don't think he wants to win? Why would he get in the race?
He may be delusional. He may want to win, but he may be delusional too.
Whoa.
Because he's
well, go ahead, Jim.
He's warming up to the guy that's divisive. And Donald, let's face it, give me an example when the president was in charge and the same party won a midterm. It's not going to happen.
Well, Democrats. We already know that. Look, we already got the insight. They don't want John James. The president does not want John James to run for governor. Let's be real.
Because he's gonna abandon that.
They don't want him to run as governor. That's why he didn't have this big old rollout or anything like that. We know this.
But he didn't. It's only because they wanted him to warm that seat to make sure that a Democrat doesn't take that congressional seat. But look, once he jumps in, then they have to figure out. They obviously prefer a Republican there as opposed to a Democrat. So they'll back him if he ends up being the guy. They're not going to let him hang out there, I think. But
well, somebody said we Democrats lost because of the media and platform like yours. Listen, this is my motherfucking show. So I'm controlling the narrative. Yes, this is my opinion.
Yeah,
it's Vanessa's opinion, Alan's opinion, Jim's opinion. That's why we have elections where people go and vote. I did a one-on-one with the chief because I like the chief. But we had the young man last week. What's his name?
John
Barlow, which I thought was a very smart young man.
He's a good guy.
He's gonna have an uphill battle. We had Fred Durhal III, councilman. Then we had
Mary Sheffield.
And we had Santel Jenkins. So
James
we done
Carter.
had, yes,
Yeah, we
we done
almost
had,
we have
we're
two
not
more.
controlling no narrative. We're just giving people the opportunity to
Platform.
hear all sides of these candidates, and we got some good candidates. That for once we do have several good candidates that I could live with that get that if they get elected. We'll see.
No, he's not mad, Par. But
No, I'm just saying.
I want to go back to what Par Orgs said. I think it's important to from my perspective, the Democrats didn't lose because of the media. The Democrats lost because they lost the middle ground. That's why the Democrats lost.
They lost their
the middle
support.
ground.
They lost their support. It's like you have an army and you go to a war and you find out that your army ain't going to war with you. They are switched sides or they stayed home. They not picking up a gun for you. They're not fighting for you. And that's what
Quincy's
happened.
right.
And I think getting back to my opening statement, I think, matter of fact, I know that's what Hogg said, that we need that in a party. Listen, the Democratic Party has lost popularity, has lost people, and in order to bring them back, you're going to have to do something different, and you're going to have to be sincere about doing something different. Doing the same old thing is not happening. As
But
a
he's
matter of
just
fact,
going away.
doing the same old thing placed the Democratic Party in the position that it is in now. But I also found it interesting because there was a lot of questions that was being asked, and in particularly about some of those that have been in office for, God knows how long, Nancy Pelosi. And I thought it was interesting that this young man said, well, I'm not necessarily going to say that Nancy Pelosi is one of those people that we will run someone against. And I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Are you talking out of both sides of your mouth?
Yeah,
talking out of both sides of your mouth, because I mean, you had me for a good 10 minutes until you was asked that question. But let's see what happens.
Alan.
I agree with Vanessa. I mean, obviously there has to be a different tact. I mean, look, the Democrats, it was a mess with Joe Biden being sort of forced out, and then Kamala being thrown in there and whatever. It was a mess. But Trump also promised. So people love promises, and he's a great salesman. He sold vodka under his name, which was no great vodka. He sold steaks under his name. People buy the Trump brand, and he was saying, I'm going to end the war day one. The Israeli war will be over in me before I get in because they're going to be afraid of me. We're going to have lower food prices. And suddenly what we see is, and some people may see this as, the whole 2025 plan or whatever, but if you look, we are look, the Supreme Court has ruled 9-0, bring the guy back from El Salvador, and they are putzing around. That's the Supreme Court. And
The guy that beat his wife up, that guy?
Well, I don't know what's going on, but let me look. A ruling is a ruling. It doesn't.
No, I agree with that.
It's all the machinations, and they're making up.
They should bring him back.
Let me finish my point. My point is that, look, the Democrats have a great opportunity when you see what's going on with a guy who is really following, and you're gonna be defensive about this, but who's doing a playbook out of the 1930s with Adolf Hitler. Hitler went and he started telling the universities, fire all the Jews. Here's the curriculum. You got to have more pro-Aryans. He started getting into the arts and sciences, telling the artists, no more of this kind of art. We have to have things promoting Aryan stuff. He deconstructed the Constitution. We're having a lot of the very similar things that are happening. The Democrats have a great opportunity because people voted for him saying, we want cheaper prices, we want to deal with immigration and stuff like that. They didn't say ignore the Constitution, ignore the judiciary, and I think the Democrats have a great opportunity, particularly in the midterms, to try to offer.
We will see that we had presidents before. We go back when the Supreme Court told Andrew Jackson, you can't remove Indians from Georgia and North Carolina. He said, "Well, how you gonna stop me?"
So
Then he moved him.
So Trump's the first president doing this?
No, he ain't the first president.
So it was the last guy that
right.
it was the last guy that controlled Facebook and Twitter and controlled the pandemic because they didn't want people free thoughts out there. It's the last guy.
What do you mean by controlling the pandemic? I need you to expand.
Trump is the one that fucked up the pandemic, Jim.
I'm
not talking about the pandemic. I'm talking about free speech.
Okay, but you said,
but he wasn't jailing. Biden didn't jail people. They wasn't picking people, kicking them out of the universities because they protest, because they support the Palestinians. Listen, people can support can be pro-Palestinian without being anti-Israel. They could be anti-Israeli government. I don't see them. But you're gonna kick me out because if I'm Palestinian and I support the Palestinian cause, I'm not saying I want them to blow up folks. I kick me out of school because I protest. Should I be kicked out of school? Alan,
no, absolutely. Look, I'm as concerned. I'm pro-Israel. I'm pro-Palestinian. I'm not pro-Hamas. And anybody wants to protest war, there should be people, regardless of who's right in war. There should always be people pushing against war. And the idea that you start expelling people because they've come to this country where it's the land of the free, where we have, the right to speak, and we're grabbing people. And when you say, Jim, you can say when Lisa Murkowski, who is a U.S. senator, says, "I'm afraid to speak up," she's being bold by even saying.
It's up to her constituents.
Let me finish, please. She's being bold by even saying that because the other senators are afraid to even say that because they're scared.
Like when Zuckerberg went before Congress and said that the Biden administration was controlling my corporation because people were trying to exercise free speech. Is that kind of the same thing or is that different? Why do we pick and choose when it's wrong? It's wrong. You think the Democrats think it's okay. It's okay when they violate the Constitution. It's only not okay when the Republicans do it.
I didn't say that.
Call it out when the Democrats do it.
Jim, I'm not saying.
With you, Jim.
I'm not saying that it's okay.
One at a time.
I think one of the things that the government was doing, and they probably overstepped, is that they were trying to get out.
They did.
They were trying. Yeah, okay. They were trying to get out a message about COVID.
Their message.
Okay, you're right. And I agree. Look, they overstepped.
To the victors, whoever in controls the narrative.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Karl Rove, who is a hired gun, who's one of the most right-wing strategists, said that Trump is about to implode because people didn't elect him to cause all this chaos. And I keep telling folks, I'm not going to bed thinking about Donald Trump because I think that what's going to happen is, and it's happening now, he'll switch IRS commissioners 3-4 times. He's playing with the chessboard, and he doesn't know what the fuck what he wants. He's looking for people to swear undying loyalty to him, and unfortunately, we don't have any Republicans in the Senate or in Congress, and the ones that went against them, they out. You look at Liz Cheney and the rest of the folks that left Congress. Donald Trump controls the party. He controls the narrative. He's in control.
I want to go to some of our viewers before you go, Alan.
Let me say real quick.
True Sensation. Hold on. True Sensation says, can we be honest for 1 second? Trump made racist voters comfortable. Those people heard make America white again. Whitney Clark says during the pandemic, Biden paid and coerced social media sites to block stories is what Jim was referring to. And he has a great point. Once again, you all are great because of your diverse positions. Derek Henry says, seem like free speech ain't free no more. Amen. Sam said, Jim, you nailed it. Eric said, Jim, you're on point. Derek Henry said, exactly, Adolph. Eric Brown said, again, 98% of Republican voters do not regret voting for him. CNN lost their minds when reporting that yesterday.
Okay, go ahead quickly, Alex.
Real quickly, I'm going to say, first of all, the Pentagon has removed 400 books from its library, including Maya Angelou and a Holocaust book. And now, Jim, my question to you is, does it bother you that they're snatching people off campuses and trying to get them out because they're expressing their opinion about the Israeli war? Does that bother you?
You're missing my point.
No, I
You're not
heard
listening to
your
what my
point.
point is.
No,
My
I
point
heard
is
your point. I agree with you. You're right. But
we should call Trump out when he does. When the Supreme Court says
I'm asking you,
9-0,
does that bother
they need
you?
to lock somebody up if they don't bring that young man back here. They need to put somebody. They need to lock up Pam Bondi or whoever it is and say, we'll let you out as soon as we're face to face with this gentleman that the Supreme Court said bring back. I agree with you. But where were you when the Democrats were doing it? You didn't care.
Right.
I didn't say it. Did you ask me if I cared?
I don't remember you calling him out. I
Alan,
remember you calling Biden out for what.
Well, one at a time. One at a
What's
time.
happening now
One at a
is
time.
so frightening at so many levels, disregarding the judiciary rulings, intimidating people where a U.S. senator, the whole Republican Party is scared shitless of Trump. They won't
Look at it from a global perspective and not your own perspective is all I'm asking you to do.
Okay.
But you refuse to do that, Alan. You never will.
You ignore the fact that this fucking country is in big fucking trouble.
When was I defending Donald Trump? I'm not defending Donald Trump. I'm talking about your perspective.
Gentlemen, wait a minute, ladies, gentlemen. So one at a time. You know, we can disagree. We can agree to disagree. You know, we're gonna move on. Vanessa, you had the last say on this.
I'm gonna read Par Org's statement, and then I'm gonna say something.
Go ahead.
He said, take for example, Lango stated last week on the week that William Smith was the schmuck of the week, and that's how he was able to embezzle over $40 million without being noticed. But Lango failed or refused to state that Detroit City Council President Mary Sheffield sits on the board of the Detroit River Conservancy in connection with William Smith's actions. So it's like we've said, you and Lango control the narrative.
Alan,
we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that Mary Sheffield was on the board. Somebody raised it, and I checked. And I said, okay, there were 40 people on the board, you know, at one time. So the fact somebody help Mr. Smith embezzle that money. I don't think he did it by himself. And are they going to go to American Express and get that $15 million back or whatever? How can you? For what, 12 years, 15 years
or whatever, yes.
He just used it. It used the organization as an ATM machine, and nobody checked him.
Yeah.
How?
Because I've said this all along. Listen, you can't tell me that brother, and yes, that brother, that he did that by himself. You cannot convince me. I don't believe it. He's taken the fall for all those people that were sitting on the board. As far as I'm concerned, they were just as complicit. But I want to get back to Jim and Alan. I think that, Alan, that you do not see, I think what Jim was trying to say is, look, it's wrong when they do it, but it's also wrong with the people that you support do it. And then what he's trying to say, that's what he's saying. And what he's saying is, listen, you should not be so myopic and just see it from that lens. You need to look at it globally.
But I don't have a problem with either side. If you're a Republican and you support Trump, that you supporting the Titanic at this point, because sooner or later it's gonna sink. But you're right. Democrats undone their dirty work. Republicans is in control right now. the big difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, when the Democrats had the House and the Senate and they had the presidency under Obama in the first term, they didn't do what the Republicans have done. I always thought, man, they passed health care, but there was a whole lot of other things I thought they could have done, and they didn't do it. To the victors goes the spoils. When you're in control, you control, as my man say, we control the narrative. And right now, the Republican Party is controlling the narrative, and they got these senators and Congress people scared out of their mind because they do not want to run against a Trump-backed candidate, Alan. And then we're going to move on from this.
I just want to say, I have never in my lifetime seen a chill in the media where the oligarchs who own the Washington Post, the LA Times have pulled back and told at the Washington Post, they've told the editorial page not to criticize the Trump. I've never seen that in my lifetime. I've never seen law firms roll over, these huge law firms who are afraid to represent people now.
But now you're seeing it, Alan. The people want lived through it before. People want lived through Jim Crow. People want lived. You can look at old editions of the news and the Free Press and see how they covered the Black community, Latinos. Go back. You can always go back. We done had newspapers in cahoots with right-wing ideology and shit. We just old enough now to live with it. Listen, this country goes into cycles. We done had Supreme Courts that's been idiots. We don't have presidents that told the court, up your ass. I don't care how you rule. And I'm the president. So it ain't going to be, Trump ain't going to be the first one. He just the most outspoken and the one that he doesn't give a damn because he done got away with it. He done bullied his way back into office and right now he controls the ship. Wherever this ship is going, it's going. He might run it aground and he might not. So we'll see, Vanessa.
So, well, some of our viewers, Stephanie, because we're going to move on. Stephanie Young says, who's the Democratic pick to run 2028 for president? Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, or Cory Booker? Anyone else to consider?
Well, that Republican up in Lansing.
Says Cynthia Johnson says Stephen A. Smith for 2028. That is hilarious. So did Whitney Clark.
You talking about the minstrel on ESPN? He's a minstrel. He's a fucking minstrel. He's a minstrel. He's a clown. Listen, Stephen Fetchit had to be a clown and to survive in Hollywood. He don't have to be a clown. He's just a clown. Yeah, but if
I hope they're joking.
Trump is the president, Stephen A. Smith can run for president. The Rock saying he's running for president. Listen, this is America now.
Yeah.
Listen, there's no thing as a professional politician. and the party, the Republican, Democrats, I think it's getting to the point where it's going to be hard to tell who's a Republican, who's a Democrat. It's them and us. At this point,
right.
Listen, Jim, you said they did it, and now the Republicans doing it. And listen, I just think whoever in control, whether Republican or Democrats or independents, they're gonna do they political dirt anyway.
So we've been on this show for 44 minutes and 14 seconds. I want you to give me an example of my, defense of the President of the United States. When did I defend him tonight?
No, I don't know.
Who said that?
I didn't defend him.
No.
I didn't defend him. And I'm going to tell you this. Derrick Henry made a great point.
Who said that, though?
Well, I think that's kind of where we're at. But
okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
Adolf Hitler for president.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry made a point. It was a 9-0 decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And I will expect, rightfully so, that Donald J. Trump will be impeached if he does not resolve this issue.
When there's impeached twice.
But he'll be impeached. He'll be impeached for this issue. But let me ask you a question. Did they impeach Joe Biden when the Supreme Court told him what he could do, and he said, "Fuck you, I ain't doing it"?
Do it anyway.
Well,
Yep.
that was up to Congress. They should have impeached him if that's what they wanted to do. But impeachment turned into a joke. You know, everybody can get impeached now. If you're not kicking the person out of office, I can only think of one or two people that have been kicked out of office. Go ahead.
They need to bring that young man back to the United States and do it right.
Bill Clinton got impeached.
Yeah.
Whether Joe, I mean, what I think we're referring to what Joe Biden is on the loans, the student loans. Is that what you're?
Yeah, the U.S. government.
Well, and Reagan, if he had Alzheimer's, and he would have been impeached for the Iran Contra shit.
Right.
You know, listen, Joe Biden was the second president that didn't have it all together towards the end of his term. But the difference between him and Reagan was Reagan wasn't running for re-election, and he was at the end of his second term, and Nancy was calling the shots. Joe Biden's wife, Jill, Dr. Biden, they was gonna prop him up like they did Al Cid. Remember Al Cid, the great Spanish warrior? They put him on a horse. He's dead, and he led them to victory against the Moors.
Well,
They wanted to do to Joe Biden. They wanted to take a corpse and run him for president.
So
it couldn't happen.
right. So I agree that impeachment means absolutely nothing, but I also believe that he's not going to be impeached. I don't believe it's going to happen. So while I agree that, listen, the Supreme Court,
They got to take back Congress. They got to take Congress back.
They
That's
say
the only way you stop it.
But if he doesn't do it, guess what? What is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen to him.
You take Democrats win the midterms, and they put their own agenda out there. That's what they got to do. That's why they should be running right now. And they got these seats up for grabs and not doing anything. Go ahead, Alan.
I want to ask Jim a question because you always bring up this thing about the student loans and stuff like that. And I didn't follow it as closely as you. My understanding was Supreme Court ruled against it. Then they found some kind of loophole to get around it. I don't know that they were ultimately in violation of the Supreme Court. And correct me if I'm wrong. And after the show, I am going to research it more. But
no, it's like a loophole that a plane is flying that's over Texas, and a judge says turn that plane back, and they say, well, the plane's already there. It's the same kind of loophole, is what you're.
But no, it's not the same one. But then the Supreme Court comes back and says, okay, now guess what? I don't buy this shit. Correct that. And I don't know that the Supreme Court came back, and I'm speaking out of a little ignorance.
But I'm amazed that I can see and hear people criticize the Supreme Court, and now that they want the Supreme. We should listen to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, to me, has been bought and paid for by the Donald Trump. He put liars that's sitting up there on the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas' wife and Clarence Thomas, they took money. They're in the pockets of these wealthy donors, and etc. So when you have a Clarence Thomas go against a Trump, he really must have done something bad, because Clarence Thomas and it was the other twin,
Alito.
They'll stick with Trump, hell or high water. So the Supreme Court, you know what? I'm not losing no sleep or whether they tell somebody to do this or don't do that. And they say, well, bring him home and let that guy go. They picked up an American citizen and put in ICE and detained him. And the judge, who was a Trump appointee, say, y'all got to let this guy go. You're right, Jim. But who's going to enforce it? Do you have the police power?
That's a question for Vanessa. What's going to happen, Vanessa?
So I was just getting ready to go there. The court speaks to us for an order. The order says you have to do this and you do that. And I tell people all the time, an order is as good as the piece of paper that is written on. Okay. If people don't want to follow the law, and Jim, you know this, Alan, you know this, and Adolph, you know this. If you don't want to do it, listen, you're not going to do it. So what will be the resolve in this case? We know that impeachment is a possibility. Is it going to happen? Absolutely not, because it means absolutely nothing. So what has to happen is this. Are you going to change guard? And maybe if you change guard with Congress in the next 2 years, maybe they'll do something different. It has to take people with guts that's willing to do something.
Listen, if the people didn't
either side, I just don't think we have that on either side.
If people didn't get upset that Donald Trump pardoned and let these folks that caused the death of several law enforcement officers in D.C., they stormed the Capitol. They wanted to overthrow the government, and he said, "Hey, they heroes and stuff." And the woman that attacked the cop at the Capitol that got killed, unfortunately, he's talking about settling with the family and paying them off. You know, if people ain't that upset about all this shit that he's been doing, listen, ignoring the Supreme Court, we're taking gang members off the street. I don't care what the judge, he's saying, he got Stephen Miller saying, his deputy chief of staff saying, get rid of the courts. We don't need the courts. We don't need the district courts. We don't need the Supreme Court. We don't need none of that. You know, this is what we're dealing with until people in that party that's controlling the narrative, as one of our viewers said, it's going to continue. And we only been, how long he's been backing off?
Almost 3 months.
It feels like he's been there 5 years.
Right,
the way he's doing all this crazy shit.
Listen, we have some viewers that's weighing in. Miss Sheila says, people say judicial system is a joke, just like the parties. Stay independent thinkers. We had another viewer. We have people on Facebook as well. Viewer says that the Dems have to pick a better fight. We also have True Sensation who says, our government has turned into a good fellas saga. The rules, Constitution no longer applies. Or did it ever? Food for thought.
Should there be term limits on the federal level?
I've always said that. Yes. And I think there should be term limits for people that's running for in Congress and Senate. I do. I absolutely.
You end up like
Jim is shaking his head. No.
I'm just Adolph's going where I was going. Go ahead, Adolph. Talk about that.
Listen, you're gonna have lobbyists really running the government. You go to Lansing, you got a person that's Speaker of the House that used to be a janitor at some high school and got elected state rep, and then they make him the Speaker of the House.
Right.
It used to be you made the Speaker of the House is somebody with a lot of seniority. It's like I go to the police academy and name one of the cadets police chief of Trenton. So he come walking in with the 8 stars on his shoulder. And listen, the guy not or lady not qualified to do this shit. That's what's going to happen if we have term limits. If people, term limits is when you vote them out of office. When you say enough is enough, I don't want that person. I want somebody new.
A lot of people too lazy to do it.
Term limits are just a step in the process. Then what you do is you make people richer.
Yeah. Ira Ty says the revolution is being televised.
Thanks, Ira.
Right on, Ira.
Yeah, no question. You know, Detroit one time had a police commissioner that 6 months before he was named commissioner, he was a newspaper reporter.
Who was that?
Ray, what's his name? Ray Gerard. Yeah. He covered the cops. They made him the commissioner. You know, you don't have to be a cop to run a department.
Do you think they should? Do you think it should have, like you talked about?
I think you should have some law enforcement background. Yeah, it's like we got the guy that's the Secretary of Defense that just came from Fox News. He was a reservist. And now he's running the military and he's firing all these folks saying, oh, it's DEI, and we don't want the women there. We don't want this person there. You know, they just want their loyalists there. Anybody that don't toe the party line, they're getting rid of. There's no question. And he's not qualified to lead shit. Mark Rubio, who I thought was going to be somebody, he's just as nutty as the rest of them. So
nutty or spineless?
Both.
The one thing Trump is great at is being controlling. He controls everybody, controls what they say. People they fear him. Countries fear him. Everybody fears him. But people have
that. You think people are really scared of him? There may be some.
The Republican Party, the whole Republican Party is scared of him.
Well, people don't want to have an election. They want to be able to raise money, and you know, and Trump, he's vindictive. You got a heavy hand. And listen, Jim, you didn't agree with me, so I'm getting somebody else to run against you. And now Jim wasn't thinking about having to raise all this money for a race that he won with 70% of the vote. Now he got to go out there, come back, and he got to campaign. These people don't want to do it, and a lot of these politicians been in office for 20 years or 25 years. They got it made, and then you get the newbies who they come to town and listen. They just enjoying life. They doing whatever because they got a leader that says, "Hey, let's clown," and that's what they doing. They clowning in D.C. They having a good old time, and the Democrats are still trying to figure out how do we regroup and how do we need to be able to be the loyal opposition.
We have a viewer who says. Cashmere Monroe says, Alan, you're always talking about fear. Whitney Clark says, Biden is much better at control. Alan, stop it. Laugh out loud. We see through it, buddy. Queen B says she's waiting for Elon or Vance to backstab President Trump.
Well, I think,
Sheila says it's not law, it's relationships and money dance.
Okay, well, Alan, your final thought?
You know, people say I'm talking about fear, but like I say, the quote I read earlier from Lisa Murkowski, here's a senator, a prominent senator who has a legacy there in Alaska, and she is afraid, and she's saying, I'm afraid. Then, you know, whether Joe Biden was good there weren't a lot of leaks out of the White House. He did control a lot, but eventually the Democratic Party, you know, too late, booted him out. But I mean, they should have done it sooner. But
well, you know what? Lisa ran as a write-in as U.S. Senate. I don't see her being scared. She just a lazy ass. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Listen, I want to say thank you for all the viewers of Detroit in Black and White. Thank you so much for participating. We love the comments. We learn a lot from you, and hopefully you learning from us. We want you to join us again tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Detroit in Black and White.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. I'm sorry. 10 o'clock. Tell all your friends about Detroit in Black and White. Have them like, subscribe, and share. Our viewership is going up every single day. We want you guys to subscribe, like, share.
Jim.
Thanks, everybody. But I just want to, if I could, just real briefly, I want to pay tribute to a man that I did not know. His name was Ronnie Adams, and he lost his life out in Dundee at the Stellantis plant. And, you know, he shouldn't be forgotten. This is a gentleman that was 63 years old, probably looking forward to his retirement. And he's gone. I just want to pay tribute to him. And I don't want to be forgotten. Again, I didn't know him. But it's sad, and, you know, it didn't have to happen.
Yeah, and, you know, it was sad. His wife and them, you know, well, what they call it, I still call it Chrysler. Everybody, you know, next year might be something else, you know. Chrysler, boy, They know how to survive, don't they?
Mhm.
Yep. But anyway, tomorrow at McShane's, 10 o'clock.
All right.
Detroit in black and white. Thanks, everybody. Teresa, thank you.